Hi guys. Today we're going to learn our second and last special case. Just like yesterday, our goal today is to try to get the problem without showing any work. So just staring at it and then writing a final answer. To do that, we're going to need to recognize some patterns. Here is today's special case. If you'd like to investigate on your own for a little bit, feel free to pause the video and then check back in and make sure that you saw all of the patterns. So the first pattern actually has to do with what the original problem looks like. You can't use this pattern unless you identify this problem as a special case. So you can't just do it whenever you feel like it. It's got to be written in a very specific way. So the thing that I'm noticing about each of these questions is that in both parentheses, they have the same first term and the same second term. In my first example, they both start with M and they both end with 2N. In the next one over, they both start with 6X and they end with 20. I have an X and a 6. I have a 14X and a 9Y. So they all start and stop with the same terms, but in one parentheses, there's adding, and in the other parentheses, they're subtracting. Now, it doesn't matter what order they're in. You can see the ones on the left-hand side have the minus sign in the first parentheses and the plus sign in the second. But this one over here has the plus sign in the first and the minus sign in the second. So it doesn't really matter which one is where, but you do need to have one of each. If you have one plus and one minus, we are not squaring because those are not exactly the same. So they will have to be written as two separate parentheses. So that's what you need to look for to tell if it is this special case. Same first number, same last number, one with a plus, one with a minus. Now, something else weird that's happening is my final answers on all of these are binomials. And that's never really happened before. Every time that I've multiplied a binomial times a binomial, I always get a trinomial. I get 3 terms. I have my first box, my last box, and then I have my diagonal, which gives me my middle term. But that's not happening here. So if we look closely at the boxes and we look at the diagonals, each of the diagonals in every box, they're all going to cancel out. I get a positive and a negative of the same thing. In the first one, I have a positive 2mn and a negative 2mn, which makes 0 2mn's. I've got a positive 120x and a negative 120x, and those cancel out to 0. Same thing here and here. So another pattern that we want to notice for writing our final answer on this problem is that on the diagonal, the like terms will always cancel out, which is why there's not a middle term in these questions. Now, for the actual answer to these questions with the 2 terms, I'm getting them from the first and last box. If we look at the first box, it's just this first term squared, m squared. And if we look at the last box, it's the second term squared, 2n, and then squaring it would turn into a 4n squared. Okay. 6x, if I square it, becomes 36x squared. 20 squared is 400. Okay, and that happens on all of these. The final thing I'd like to point out is that every problem has a minus sign in the middle. That minus sign comes from the fact that we're multiplying a negative 2n and a positive 2n. So the 2 times 2 and the n times n will give us the squaring, but the negative times a positive will always give us a minus sign right here. And that is why these problems are called a difference of squares. So today's special case is called a difference of squares. The title only is talking about the final answer. So the final answer is a difference. Difference means subtraction problem of 2 squares, the a squared and the b squared. The a is the first term, the b is the second term. Order does matter. So if you notice that you have 2 parentheses with identical terms, but one is positive and one is negative, you can instantly get your answer by remembering this pattern. Remember, the pattern is square the first. The diagonal cancels. We don't do anything with that. Square the last and make it negative. Square both numbers and subtract. So this one hopefully will be a little bit easier even than yesterday's. And again, if you're not good at memorizing and you don't understand the pattern, you can always do the box method with these. Box method will always work, and foiling will always work, right? So you can always fall back on those other things. It'll make your life a little bit easier if you've memorized them, but not the end of the world if you don't. Let's do a couple examples. Okay, so here's my first example. The first thing you need to do is check and make sure it is a special case. So they do both start with X. They both end with 5. The first one has a plus. The second one has a minus. I think I'm good to go. Again, we're going to think in our head and then instantly write down an answer. So I'm going to think, okay, I need to do X squared, and I need to do 5 squared, and I need to subtract them. Well, X squared is just X squared. 5 squared is 25, and I put a minus sign in the middle. And that's it. That's our answer. This is the only time that you're going to get a binomial for your answer. If you've been getting binomials on other problems, you have not been doing those correctly. You're missing your middle term. Let's try one more together. Okay. So a little bit more complicated, a couple more numbers and more variables. In my head, I'm going to be thinking, okay, 3x, and I have to square it. You want to square the 3 and the x. You want to square both of them. And I also need to square my 4y. So let's see. 3 squared is 9, and then I need an x squared. And then 4 squared is 16, and then I need a y squared. And then we stick a minus in the middle. And that's it. Try a couple on your own. When you're ready, unpause the video and check your answers. These are continuing from yesterday, which is why the numbering starts at the number 5, because yesterday we did 1 through 4. Okay, I hope you paused the video and you did these questions, so you should already have answers on your paper to check. Let's start with 5 and 6. So for question 5, k squared minus sign, and then 1 squared is just still 1. For question 6, 3 squared is 9, and then r squared. 5 squared is 25, and a minus sign. For question 7, 4 squared is 16, and then c squared, and then d squared, and the minus in the middle. Now, I don't have the answer for number 8 typed in here because I want you guys to choose the answer from the options given on this video. So make sure to choose your answer. Be very careful with your numbers and your exponents. And then don't forget to keep watching the video till the end. So after you've answered the question, wait for me to say bye, and then you can make sure that you get full credit for this video. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will see you all tomorrow.